When Manchester United started searching for their 7th permanent manager since Sir Alex Ferguson left, most fans thought the chaos was on the pitch. But the real problem was hiding in plain sight. The football director said,
"I'm a coach at heart. I'm in a different job now, but I'm a coach inside. And that causes me, that's a strength in my role now, but also causes me a bit of a problem because I always want to interfere in what the managers are doing." So, yeah.
And just months later, the head coach said,
I came here to be the manager of Manchester United, not to be the coach. And every department, the scouting department, the sport director needs to do their job. I will do mine for 18 months and then we move on.
Those were not just two opinions. They were two lines drawn in the sand. One came from the structure. The other came from the man who was about to lose his job. And the most unsettling part is this. Those words were the last thing Ruben Amorim said in public before he was sacked. Not about tactics, not about players, not about results, about authority. Because deep down, he already knew what was happening. In football, you do not lose your job when results fall. You lose it when control slips. And at Manchester United, that moment comes for everyone. That is why this story is not really about Amorim. It is about a club that cannot decide who is allowed to lead. Every manager who walks through the doors at Old Trafford is introduced as the one in charge. The vision, the authority, the future, but slowly, quietly, that power starts to drift. Transfers get debated. Formations and team selections get questioned. Training methods get discussed upstairs. Until the man on the touchline is no longer leading a project. He is representing one. And that is why this club keeps ending up in the same place. Not because they choose the wrong managers, but because they never fully let anyone be the right one. At Manchester United, the danger is not failure. The danger is never being allowed to truly take responsibility for success. For a long time, people have tried to explain Manchester United's struggles in football terms. Formations, recruitment, pressing, midfields that do not quite work. But those things are only symptoms. The deeper problem is something far quieter. It is what happens when too many people believe they are responsible for the team. Because real authority in football is simple. One voice sets the direction. One mind shapes the identity. One person carries the risk. At Manchester United, that clarity disappeared when Sir Alex Ferguson left. What replaced it was not chaos, it was something more subtle. Layers, football departments, advisors, directors, strategic visions, long-term plans. All of it sounds sensible. All of it sounds modern. But together, they created a club where power no longer flows in one direction. It circulates. And when power circulates, responsibility disappears. That is why every new manager arrives feeling like the future and leaves feeling like a compromise. Because they were never really allowed to own the club they were meant to lead. When Ruben Amorim arrived at Manchester United, he did not walk into a broken dressing room. He walked into a broken structure. On the surface, everything looked normal. A new manager, a new vision, a fresh start. But underneath it, the same old tension was waiting. Amorim came with ideas. Clear ones. How the team should press. How they should defend. How they should control games. That is what managers do. They impose a way of playing. But at Manchester United, ideas do not exist in isolation. They get discussed, they get reviewed, they get reshaped, and slowly, the authority behind them weakens. Amorim was not dismissed because his football failed. He was squeezed because his control did. Because once a manager starts to look like he is trying to truly own the direction of the team, the structure tightens around him. And that is when the cracks begin to show. Ruben Amorim was not an exception. He was the latest chapter. Go back through the names and the story barely changes. David Moyes arrived with the weight of succession. Louis Van Gaal arrived with a philosophy. Jose Mourinho arrived with authority. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer arrived with belief. Erik Ten Hag arrived with a plan. Each one was announced as the man in charge. And each one, slowly, felt that grip loosen. Decisions became shared. Responsibility became blurred. And when results dipped, the same question always appeared. Who is really driving this? Who is really in control? At Manchester United, that question never has a clear answer, and when nobody truly owns the direction, the easiest thing to do is to blame the person standing in front of the cameras, the manager. That is how power moves upward and pressure moves downward, until the manager is left carrying everything he no longer controls. When clubs lose clarity, they start craving something else. Calm, not progress, not innovation, just stability. That is when familiar names start to sound attractive, not because they are perfect, but because they feel safe. At Manchester United, that instinct shows up again and again. When tension rises, when criticism grows, when the structure feels exposed, that is when names like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Michael Carrick, or Darren Fletcher start to sound comforting. All former players, all people who understand the culture, all people who fit easily into the room, not because they will challenge the system, but because they will not. They lower the temperature, they smooth the edges, they make the club feel more manageable. And in moments of pressure, that feeling becomes more valuable than any tactical blueprint. Not because it solves the problem, but because it hides it. Comfort feels like healing, but most of the time it is avoidance. When a club chooses familiarity, what it is really choosing is not a person. It is a delay. A delay in asking hard questions. A delay in confronting structural problems. A delay in deciding who is actually in charge. At Manchester United, those delays have become a habit. Every time things start to feel unstable, the club reaches for something that makes the noise go away. And the noise does go away. Press conferences soften. Criticism cools. The environment becomes easier to live in. But nothing underneath really changes. The same voices remain. The same power remains. The same uncertainty remains. It just becomes quieter. And that quiet is mistaken for progress. Jason Wilcox is not the real problem. He is the reveal. When he said he wants to interfere, he was not breaking a rule. He was describing a culture. Under the Glazers, it was Ed Woodward and other executives who interfered. People far from the pitch, but very close to power. Now under Ineos, it is football people. Different faces, same instinct. Manchester United do not just want a manager. They want insurance. Someone who will take responsibility, but not too much control. Someone who will lead, but not too independently. That is the invisible line every manager walks. Step too far into ownership, and the structure pushes back. Stay too safe, and the fans lose belief. That tension is not about Wilcox. It is about a club that has not decided how much authority it is willing to give away. This is why Manchester United managers always look tense, not because they fear losing matches, but because they feel their grip on the club slipping. One bad run, and the conversations start. One disagreement, and the alignment gets questioned. One moment of resistance, and the support above them begins to thin. At clubs where authority is clear, managers fight opponents. At Manchester United, they fight uncertainty. They do not know how much freedom they truly have. They do not know which decisions are really theirs. They do not know when the structure will step in. And when you are never sure where the lines are, every mistake feels fatal. That is why the job never feels secure. Not because the club is ruthless, because it is unresolved. It does not really matter who the next manager is, whether it is a former player, a young tactician, or an experienced winner. The same moment will arrive. The moment where things get difficult, the moment where results dip, the moment where pressure starts to rise. And in that moment, Manchester United will have to choose. Do we back one voice, or do we start listening to many? Because until this club decides how much control it is willing to give away, no manager will ever feel safe. Not because they are bad, but because they are never truly allowed to be in charge. And that is the truth sitting quietly behind every sacking, every return, and every new beginning at Old Trafford. Manchester United do not have a manager problem. They have an identity problem. Until the club decides whether it wants comfort or courage, this cycle will not stop. So the real question is not who should be next. It is whether Manchester United are ready to let anyone truly lead again. Let me know what you think, because this conversation is not really about football, it is about power.